Well, I thought I had an attitude problem. I thought what I was doing is the best, and I was not willing to listen to anybody. And and by investing in single family homes, I thought that was the ultimate in real estate. So, which means I was investing with my blinkers or blinders or blinkers on. So I was not open to networking. I was not open to getting any mentorship. I was not willing to pay for training. And that costed me 10 years of investing.
Welcome to the Real Estate Mogul MD podcast. Thanks for tuning in and taking control of your financial future. This is a show where we not only motivate and inspire, we give you actionable real-world experience to help you live life by design. You'll hear journeys and stories from other physicians, investors, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Brett Riggins. From Duplexaholic to a pretty good life. Today's guest has over 20 years of experience as a small business entrepreneur, IT professional, an active real estate agent, and a full-time commercial real estate investor. He started his real estate investing in 2009, single-family duplexes and fourplexes, and has since transitioned into commercial investing in 2019. Everybody, please welcome Mr. Vish Muni to the show. All right, Mr. Vish Muni, how is it going today, man?
It's going great, Brett. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to the show. I'm excited to jump into our conversation and kind of learn a little bit more about you and your journey in real estate. But before we get there, what was life like for you before real estate? I see the wonderful S word in your history here, Salesforce. Tell us a little bit about your professional journey before real estate.
Well, I always had a foot in the door with real estate, but technology was my passion. Also, when I started my career about 20 years back with Salesforce, I was admin. I was a certified admin, and the entrepreneurial bug was always in me. And then I was an admin just for 6 months to a year, and then I decided to start my own consulting firm. And then at one point, I had more than 12 Salesforce professionals were working for me at different locations on different projects. Well, the job was perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. And I still love technology, and I still use Salesforce on my laptop and desktop and on my cell phones. But what really was missing was it's like cycling. It's not going to take you too far if you stop pedaling. I mean, you could cruise for a little while, but it's going to fall down sooner or later. But I was basically looking for something where even if I take a break or even if I don't show up for a work for 1 or 2 days, I should still be getting paid. I needed something which going to work 24/7, no days off. Mm-hmm. And real estate was always in the back burner. And then me and my wife in 2009, we had started a real estate company called Duplexaholics. I mean, the name sounds like an alcoholic, but I think me and my wife came across that name because we liked duplexes. Uh-huh. And by the way, quick pivot, I want to just shift a little bit. So she's a medical professional, and that is how I think your profile caught my attention. And then I see what the doctors going through every day in and out. And so back to the story is, so we started this company and with the intention of buying one duplex a year for 10 years, Duplexaholics. Mm-hmm. And things went fine the first 5 years. And then we started facing all different kind of challenges. But that didn't stop me from continuing for the next 5 years. And after that, I decided I need to do something big. And that was the moment everything changed. That was a game changer when I decided to think big, and I got curious to know who are these people buying these apartment complexes, 10 million, 20 million, and how do they do it? And now here I am after 3 years being into commercial real estate, investing for 3 years.
Interesting. And tell me a little bit more about the Duplexaholics piece. What was it specifically that you guys liked about duplexes?
Well, we liked the idea of you have a tenant who is paying off your mortgage. If not half, might be 3/4 of it. and you get to live in a rental property, which doesn't look like an apartment. It gives you the feeling that you're living in a house because it's got everything an independent house has, except for one common wall, and it gives you the sense that you have a home ownership because you have a nice little backyard and a porch and other things. And so that is what got us started. And in fact, me and my wife, when we started looking for duplexes, we came across this one builder who walked up to us and he told, "Hey, listen, we are building 10 duplexes, and how many you want to buy?" And we were just getting started. So I looked at my wife and she looked at me, and then, well, I think we'll just take one.
Mhm.
And we still own that duplex, and it is rented all the time. No, absolutely no problems. But why I bring it up, why I want to talk about that is we had zero confidence. We didn't know how to do this. Now looking back, if I get the same deal, I'm going to say yes and then figure out how to do it, right? So imagine 10 duplexes, brand new, at $150 a pop.
That's awesome. Yeah. And just obviously depending on what market,
Right.
what area, and then the cash generated by that. But yeah, it's the hindsight 2020 thing. Absolutely.
Right.
Say, yes, I'll take all 10, because the build to rent thing is a whole nother beautiful
Right.
thing in of itself. What were the, Vish, what were some of the problems then that you started? So the first 5 years, everything's great. What were some of the problems that you were facing with this approach?
Well, one is I was never a landlord. I've always been an investor because I'm a third generation real estate professionals, because it all started with my grandfather back in India. He had built 40 rental properties.
Oh, wow.
Which till date, the properties are there, but they're not in the best of condition. And the highest and best use of that location would be to tear them down and build an apartment complex. And that is what we are doing. So to answer your question, what are the challenges which we face? Because maintaining those properties in India, I figured out the challenges of being a landlord. And when I came to US, I decided I'll never again be a landlord. I'm going to be an investor because of the experiences what I had. So the challenges what I faced was, number one, be about the lending. So on the first property which we bought in the name of an LLC, was no lender would give us money. So I had to literally call or visit close to 20 different lenders before someone gave me the money. That was the first step. And the more rejections I faced, the more challenging it became. And it's more like sometimes you just want to go with it. You want to push your limits. You want to see how far you can go. And that is what got me going. And it got me all pumped up by telling, okay, the bank number one rejected. Why did they reject? I did not have this. So I go to bank number 2, rejected. So by the time I came to bank number 5, I knew the reasons what they would reject. So if they're going to reject me, it has to be something different than what it is. So the 20 banks was a big educational experience. If you ask me, I would say that you got to fail fast. You got to fail really fast.
Yeah.
And that was a big lesson I learned, that definitely you would be a better investor if you fail fast. That was a big lesson. And from the lending point, and number 2 was the property management. One property manager fired me because I didn't know how much to pressure to maintain on the property management. And there was a tree which had fallen down, and I was after him to remove the tree. And the property management company did not like the amount of pressure follow-up calls I was doing, and they fired me. So and not only did they fire, they walked away, giving my phone number and email address to the tenant, telling, we have nothing to do with this. We don't like this landlord. Here is his phone numbers. You can talk to him directly.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to quickly step into that, do some crisis management. And so that was lesson number 2. Number 3, these are the pains you go through it, but that is part of the process. But don't think that is everything. And so after that, it's been challenges, but we decided to look at it from an education point of view and say, this is how it's going to be.
So of those first 10, how many do you still own now?
We still own four of them.
Okay,
We
interesting.
still own four because we sold a few of them and we just we really didn't do a 1031, but the amount was too little to pay that
Right,
1031 to do it,
right.
get into any syndication. So we just had to pay the taxes and just roll that money into different deals.
Did you live in any of the duplexes as you were acquiring them?
No, except for the first one was the only one, and after that we didn't live in any of them.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, definitely some challenges. And I always, encourage the fail fast thing is big. It's a big piece, taking action in order to learn. You see test and measure, and you get better every single time. And that lending piece is huge. And this is, more than 10 years ago. So things are a little different now, but I always encourage everybody to, the product is out there that you're looking for. You just have to know how to ask the right questions, know what to look for, and know, I guess, the way to talk. So that idea of getting a loan in the name of the LLC, yes, it's a little more difficult if you keep going to all of the lenders who are inside of the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac box, right? You need it needs to be in the LLC for so long. You need to provide rental income. You need to do all of this stuff. Really, there's other lenders out there. It's a lot easier to get to them now, Vish, that don't lend inside of the box. So it's easier to get that LLC loan now. Do you feel that same way?
Well, it is because I failed so many times, which made me a better investor or a better when I figured out how to get money with less headaches, and I need to get if I want to get money 1 year from now or 6 months from now, if I think I might have a deal, I need to start working with the lenders right now.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have a packet which is ready for whatever the lender required documents. I could send it to them in the next 2 minutes.
Right.
So now I'm over prepared because I tell my lenders, listen, I'm underwriting deals and I'm looking at properties, and I have the list of documents, what you need. I'm going to send them to you. So let me know what you can do when I have the right deal. So that way, I don't want the lender to feel that I'm not prepared with the right documents. So the lender thinks that, well, I don't even know this guy has a property, but I have all his documentation. So the tables are turned. Now he is obligated to work with me because I'm giving him all the documents even before he asks for it.
Right.
And he knows and when he looks at all the documents, there have been several lenders who told me, how do you know what documents I need? And how do you know this is exactly what I need? And I give them a personal financial statement and then real estate on profile and everything about the properties and the tax returns.
Yeah.
And everything. Yeah. So it's now they're under pressure to perform or to get back to me the minute I tell them this is the deal.
Yeah, that makes sense. And having that stuff put together, I remember, Vish, some of the first times that I went, and again, it was those times where I was proactive and not reactive. I was out ahead knowing that, hey, I'm looking to get this financing. So I'd put together just like what you're saying, that personal financial statement, the real estate owned, and I was even showing, because self-employed, for the listeners, I got my fingers up in the air. In the self-employed world, I was telling them about my businesses as well, too, and being in real estate. So I was producing this information, just like you're saying, and that starts the conversation with the lender and a different perspective. In the world of business, commercial loans, it's different. It's different than the standard personal loans.
Right. Yeah. And then what I figured out is I need to keep the lender on the hook also, because otherwise, if I send all the documents and I just don't call them for the next 6 months, and they're going to forget me,
right?
And they have no intentions, or they have nothing to work with me because they're not making any money out of me.
Yeah.
So what I figured out is the best way to keep the relationship going, and I tell all my other friends or anyone looking to start, ask them for line of credit, and you
Yeah.
don't lose anything. And you wouldn't believe me. And every single bank has given me a line of credit now, because the minute they see this guy is super prepared, this guy's already been investing in properties, he knows what he's talking, and they would say, well, I'm sorry, we can't give you too much line of credit. I asked, so how much can you give me? You would say, well, will 50K work for you? I told them, well, why don't we do that? 50K works for me. We'll get started with that. And if necessary, we'll probably revisit every year.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a great starting point. And imagine I have 4 different lenders with good relationships, having access to 200K overnight.
And that's awesome too. That line of credit is awesome, especially. So we're still in the single family world of the BRRRR strategy: buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. You can use that line of credit to purchase things, and then you can refi and pull your cash to pay down that line of credit. So a great, interesting twist. And now, kind of from this world of Duplexaholic into multifamily, like your mindset of, okay, it's bigger. And this is a progression that a lot of investors make, is through the single family into multifamily. But I think something that's going to help you here in this shift, as well as it helps probably in the duplex world, Vish, was your ability to build relationships. And that is massive, because real estate is the world of relationships, right? It's the business of relationships. So coming from the Salesforce world, I want to dive more into that as well too, but into now this idea of multifamily. So where was the big switch for you from Duplexaholic into multifamilies? Like, what did that progression look like?
Well, let me back up a little more. So when I was in technology, every relationship, every networking event, if the person I'm talking to is across the table, if he or she is not a technology person, then I don't need to be spending any time. So which means if I'm put in a room of 200 people, there might be just only 10 people who are technology people. So the rest 190 people are just sitting there, and they're not my type. So I felt, well, what is the best way I can talk to anybody and everybody in the world, in any location, no matter what their background? I should still be able to work with them. And that one triggered me. I told, well, it's time to shift to something. What is that? And that is real estate. So you could be an investor. Someone who is a doctor could be a real estate, and somebody who's a mechanic could also be a real estate investor. So in other ways, I'm not restricting myself talking to only technology people. So, and that opened up a world of opportunities. Now, since I love networking, I like meeting new people. I like to know what really gets them going on any given day. So with that, switching over from Duplexaholics, that is a single family, just only up to 4 units, to all the way up to multifamily and doing commercial deals only. So the new company which I set up to do bigger deals is called PGL Properties. It's Pretty Good Life Properties.
Oh, nice.
So while I was doing the single family homes, and there were a lot of real estate agents who showed us the apartment deals, and they came to us with something called an offering memorandum. I had no idea what that was at that time. And I would look at my wife, and this apartment is 100 units for $1 million. And said, well, I have no idea what to look for and where to get started. And so we used to tell them, well, I don't know how to do this. I didn't want to tell them I don't know how to do. I would tell them that I'm not ready. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, but that kept showing up again and again, more often than not. And that is when I decided, well, I need to do something about this. I need to think big. Why am I saying no to these bigger deals? And that is when I started networking in Austin. And I went to a few networking events, and I looked it up, and I came across a meetup called Investor Underground. I mean, it sounded pretty shady, and it looks like a mafia. It looks like a bunch of
Yeah.
what type of people. And the best part is they were meeting at a real estate office in Austin, a realtor's office, Austin Board of Realtors office. And I was working on my real estate license also. I thought, well, it can't be that bad. It must be some legal business itself. If it is a shady business, and then I don't think Austin Board of Realtors would allow them to meet there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and meeting there and meeting a bunch of people changed my entire investing, how I looked at it, because they spoke exactly about multifamily and how things worked. And with that, after that, there was no looking back.
Yeah, expanding associations. And if I look back, I say this so often too, Vish, that if I look back in the jumps of the exponential growth and progress in my life as a person, as a father, a husband, an investor, an entrepreneur, a leader, those moments always happen specifically the way that you just spoke of right there. Putting myself in a room with people who are already doing what I want to do and learning from it, like not being the smartest person in the room and growing like a sponge.
Right. Yeah, and that one led to one thing, led to another, one thing led to another. In fact, I did invest in one of those guys' deals in Austin. And this was a 24-unit apartment complex, which was in 2019. And we still hold that apartment complex. And that was my first deal. And that was a great learning experience.
Nice. And then in Austin, obviously some challenges in Texas in general with insurance and taxes, but the appreciation, I mean, Austin has blown up, right? So you've got a little bit of appreciation in that property, huh?
Well, we got a lot because we bought that property when it was a heavy value add. We had to change the entire tenant profile, and we had to clean up the parking lot. We had to change the roof and probably and doing all that, probably we were able to bump the rents by something like $100 to $200.
Nice.
So everything changed out there.
Nice. And now, so this path from duplexes to multifamilies, and that's where you're at now with PGL properties. Where does Salesforce still fit into this? So just for the listeners, if they're not aware of Salesforce in my perspective, in my mind, is a CRM, a client relationship management software, but it's like one of the best. It's one of the biggest companies in the world and also one of the most expensive platforms. Where does that fit? Do you still use Salesforce for any of your real estate stuff?
Yes, I love it. It is expensive. They have more than 30% share in the customer relationship management place worldwide, and then it is expensive. And how I got hooked onto it is because I was a Salesforce admin, and that was the business I had. So I got a paid version of Salesforce, which I still continue to use. And since I got used to that, and how I fit into my investing business, because I was able to customize the Salesforce software. And in a nutshell, I can tell you how it works. You have contacts, any business anywhere in the world. It comes down to your buying and selling. And buying and selling, the process of how you go about it differs. And every business needs two people. So if you go to a medical field, for the doctors to survive, they need patients. And you can't call patients your customers. You got to call them patients. So that way, every different professions have different way to identify people. So within real estate, we call people as investors. And to run this whole business, and you have vendors. And to manage this, you have property management, you have maintenance people and everybody. So everybody has to fit into the entire whole system. So now you have contacts, and each contact has to belong to an organization. An organization could be a plumbing company. Now, if you go to one plumbing company, there could be 20 employees in that plumbing company. Now, you could talk to Peter today, and you could talk to Tom tomorrow, and you could talk to Kathy on a third day, number 3. Now, how do you document all these things? So you got to bring everything to one location. And all these people should be working for one specific property. Now, if you have just one property, it's easy to maintain. And you magnify that working with 10 different properties, and the amount of people and amount of interactions you have. So this is a system. You could have everything streamlined. I could have 30 different conversations with 30 different people. I could put everything in the system. And after 2 months, if I want to look back and I say on 14th September, I spoke to a plumber, but I don't recall who was the plumber and why did I talk to him, because I was super impressed with him and he was extremely reasonable. I need to find out who that is. But if you have written everything manually, the chances are that you will find it, but it is not well presented. It is not well organized. It's not well portable. If I want to share those details with my friend in New York, I don't have any way to I need to FedEx my book, whatever I have,
right,
or make copies and send it. But if I have it on a system, I could share it in real time. I could share it the next second. I could give him access to log into my system and generate reports the way he wants it. So sharing of information, you can do it in real time. You can collaborate and communicate. And that is why we need the systems.
I love, in my mind is just like blossoming, because I'm in this, I guess, part of my investing career where just you saying that, like linking the connection, the communication piece in real time. And that's so important when you're talking about conversation, even in business in general. But from the sales side, it's more than just sales. It's almost life. It's everyday business where you're tracking conversations, communications, because it's all coming out of this platform and attached to these contacts and attached to these properties. So it's an awesome piece. And so I'm excited. I'm excited about Salesforce too. Would you say that's kind of like on a higher level of an investor kind of platform? I mean, if somebody's just doing passive syndications, maybe 5 or 10 passive syndications, would Salesforce be of benefit to them?
No, that will be an overkill, because it's like if there's nothing wrong in driving a Ferrari, but if you're one of those people who want to drive at 40 miles an hour or just below speed limits, and you don't want to break the law, or you don't want to speed you once in a while, then buying a Ferrari, or even if you can afford it, it doesn't make sense. Right? So that way you might as well stick to other cars which are equally good, but you don't need to pay for that high-end brand name unless you're willing to speed. So I would probably see that at Salesforce, there are a lot of other programs which you might get them for free, which do the same amount of work.
Yeah. So what you're saying is Vish likes to speed. Vish likes to break the law at speed because you have Salesforce.
So you need to learn the system before you do anything, because you need to know the mechanics, and you need to be prepared for that excitement.
Yeah. And on a higher level, I mean, you with your tech background consulting in Salesforce, there was kind of like this very interesting spin that allowed you to use this bigger platform to do what you're doing. A lot of our listeners, will not have that desire, that need for something like this. But on a higher level, it is, I mean, I can see it in the tech world that I'm in as well, too, aligned with real estate. This is just one of those things where it's an opportunity, but it's definitely not a necessity. And I love the analogy that you put together there with the Ferrari, and going out and putzing around as opposed to going out and, failing fast, I think is a great way to put it, in learning from it and growing from it. So, I love that we got to talk about Salesforce there just a little bit. And on back to the multifamily piece, there are definitely lots of other platforms out there, free platforms, or joining in groups masterminds that will have software for you to kind of control and track those communications that are really important, track files, because let's get serious. I mean, data management, whether you're 1, 2, 3 deals into it or 50 deals into it, data management is a big piece of being a real estate investor, right?
Yes, yeah. And then the importance of that is basically like the world itself is everything is about relationships. And you would feel good if I remember our last conversation. The next time I meet you, I'd say, hey, Brett, I met you on September 14th at 6:30 p.m. I remember you spoke about your children, your soccer games, and you guys planning to go on a holiday and what type of food you like. Imagine 2 years from now, if I meet you and I tell you, I recollect this entire conversation, would you be touched with it or would you be impressed or not?
Yeah, you instant rapport when you drop in something like that. And I noticed in one of your posts too that you had mentioned the family, occupation, relationship, and dream, right? That forward piece, were those the right words?
Yes, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that is what
So
it is.
if you have that, building those relationships, and you're able to be an adept listener, a quality listener, and be able to connect with a person like that, and then you record that, and that data management piece is just like you're saying. So not only in real estate investing is the data management of the property and the maintenance and the numbers, the money, all that stuff, but in the relationship piece is massive. So if you can engage with somebody, get this forward, right? Talk about children. And then the next time you engage with it 3 months, 6 months, or 8 months later, especially like with that lender you're talking about, every time you keep them on the line and you say, hey, how the kids doing? How'd that soccer game go? Because you had it in your notes.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that's why just stick to it, because everybody in the world likes to talk about themselves and about their family. And it's very simple. I mean, nobody would get offended. In fact, all you need to do is be a good listener, talk to them, let them talk. And everybody would talk till they get tired. And then they'd say, wait a second, I've been talking for 20 minutes. I need to find out what Brett is about. Let me talk to him.
Yeah. And those conversations, and you really know it goes well when you can have a conversation with somebody. They speak 90% of the time. And
right.
Then they say, "Oh, it's great talking with you," right? And there was no with. That person was talking the whole time. And it lifts them up and makes them feel good. It's awesome. But yeah, real estate is a relationship business, 100%. And that little key is huge. So that's awesome. Hey, Vish, if you could go back 10 years ago. So we are probably this is to 2013. This is maybe 4 or 5 years into the Duplexaholics, right? What would you say to yourself 10 years ago?
Well, I thought I had an attitude problem. I thought what I was doing is the best, and I was not willing to listen to anybody. And by investing in single family homes, I thought that was the ultimate in real estate. So, which means I was investing with my blinkers or blinders or blinkers on. So I was not open to networking. I was not open to getting any mentorship. I was not willing to pay for training. And that costed me 10 years of investing. But I would tell people, if anyone starting with real estate, I would tell them to go find a mentor, number one. And even if they find a mentor, I would tell them momentum is everything. Don't wait. Just move. Just take action right now. Start where you are. There's no perfect time. There's no right or wrong. This is investment. You do the math, because the tenants are paying for most of it. It is investment, and you got to keep moving. There's always good deals, bad deals, and you're always going to make mistakes. Sometimes it is your own problem, and sometimes if the interest rates raise, you can't do anything about it, but you can only be prepared. The only way you can become a better investor is to fail fast. Just keep doing it, keep going. There's no looking back.
That's awesome. The attitude thing, I think, is a huge piece. And I I want to dive into that just briefly here for a little while longer, because there are certain things we do in our life that increase our earning potential. And once we have, this high earning potential, it gives us more opportunity then to invest and become real estate professionals. But one thing that happens a lot of the times, and I think basic human nature, is the more we know, sometimes the more arrogant we feel on what we know. And if we have that attitude where, we knew we were in the right spot, like you say, the blinders, and this is what I'm doing, I'm not listening to anything else, that presents challenge. So this happens in whether you're an engineer, a physician, an attorney. You could be the best general contractor in the world, and these blinders could affect you. So that attitude piece is huge in the way of, always keeping an open mind. Be a forever student is a big piece. And knowledge is nothing without action. And that's what creates wisdom for us. And that's the difference changer, So I think that's great advice, and a great path, something to take away. It wasn't to change anything. It was just to make it better. So I appreciate that. And Vish, man, I appreciate your time. I know it's a crazy time for you right now. What time of the day is it for you right now?
Well, right now it is, I would say it is 7:20 a.m.
7:20 a.m. So
on Thursday night, 7:20 p.m. on Thursday.
Okay. Yeah. So I knew we're on opposite sides of the world today. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for your time, sharing your information. And if the listeners want to reach out to you, we talked that LinkedIn is probably the best way that people could reach out to you, learn a little bit more about PGL. And what does PGL stand for again?
It's Pretty Good Life.
Pretty Good Life. I absolutely love that. So from Duplexaholic to Pretty Good Life, I love it. So people can reach you at Vish Muni. That's VISHMUNI. That's the handle at LinkedIn, and just flip that back around if they wanted to see. You got some great content on LinkedIn too. It's uplifting, motivational. So if you just flip that around, the handle at Instagram is MuniVish. It's MuniVish.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Brett. That was I really had a great time on your podcast, and I hope I'm able to add some value to your listeners.
Absolutely. The journey is beautiful. I absolutely love it. So from Duplexaholic to a Pretty Good Life, it doesn't get any better than that. So thanks again for your time, Vish. And the listeners out there today, thanks again for your time and your attention. If you have any questions for us, please shoot us an email at info@physicianwealthsystems.com. If you would love to be a guest on the show, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to get your reviews too. Drop us a review, a 5-star review would be great on Apple or on Spotify. And we'll look forward to having you for the next show. Thank you so much. Real Estate Mogul MD.